guys, Trey here for another YouTube video, and today we're going to be doing some Summoner's War. Um, so, I don't know if you guys can tell right off the bat if my sound quality is better, but I got a microphone finally. Um, we have officially hit the halfway mark for subscribers to hit 100, which is amazing. And I got some new images for my YouTube channel, some new logos and stuff like that. And my girlfriend Grace made them. They look amazing. They're just awesome. So as soon as you get a chance, guys, go check them out. You'll already notice my new profile picture, but I also have a new banner, which is awesome. So anyway, without further ado, we're going to get into the YouTube video itself. So as you can see, I am on Summoner's War on my phone, not an emulator. And we're just going to go right off the bat and look at the two main HOH monsters that people have been looking at lately, and they are Bering and Gemini, which are Dark Kobold Bomber and Light Brownie Magician, respectively. So we're going to go to Light, and then we are going to find Gemini, which, disclaimer, before I even get too far into this, I picked Bering, and I'll explain why. Gemini is an awesome pick for RTA and Arena, which both of them are. Both of them serve a purpose for RTA and Arena, and Gemini is an excellent pick if you have no speed lead skill or you need a stripper that strips every turn. The main reason people choose Gemini is because he strips every turn, he has an AoE defense break, and he has a speed leader skill. Element neutral is a good advantage, but Bering is also element neutral. So we're looking at his passive now. Small Grudge increases attack power by 50% if your HP ratio is lower than target enemy's HP ratio at the moment of attacking, and removes one beneficial effect of the enemy if you have less beneficial effects. What this means is that, so if you not have lower max HP, but a lower HP ratio. So if you're at 50% health and they're at 60%, you will do 50% extra damage, which is good because on strippers you want to have enough attack so that you can pop the shield of a Wusa or even just shield runes. You want to pop shields so that you can't accidentally strip the shield instead of immunity, because stripper's main purpose is to strip immunity or invincibility or endurance or something like that. Ideally, you want your stripper to move turn 1 so you can strip will runes, and obviously a Wusa is probably going to move pretty fast, so you want your stripper to move pretty fast too. Being that these are single debuff or single buff strippers, you would want them to move first. Now, a stripper that removes all buffs might want to move the first of your team, but after all of their team moves, so that they get every buff that the enemy had. Anyway, Gemini has 2 skills, and one of them basically has a violent effect, so he goes good on violent because he has an extra chance, a built-in extra chance on skill 1 to get an extra turn. And on his skill 2, he will always land a crushing hit, so it doesn't really, glancing doesn't affect him. So anyway, Gemini is great. His bad thing about his passive is if you like to use will runes or shield runes, you might as well just not use Gemini, because you have to have less buffs in order for Gemini to work. Ideally, you want Gemini on Despair and a beefy enough Despair set so that he can take a hit, but also a good enough Despair set that he can break a shield. That's ideally how you want to build Gemini for more of a survivable unit. But if you don't care about survivability and you just want to go ahead and build him as a turn 1, strip the will, and then his job is done, if you want to do that, you're going to want him on Swift runes as fast as you can get him, and don't worry about shields, because likely in RTA and Arena, people don't really use shield runes a ton, but they do sometimes. But anyway, that's Gemini. Now we're going to go to Bering. Bering is the one I chose because you don't really come across an AoE silence that often. There are very few AoE silences in the game, and I will go and look at those right now, and I can tell you exactly how many. So Kumar is AoE silence, but he's a Nat 5. Poseidon is an AoE silence, but he's a Nat 5. And Elemental. Kumar is Elemental. Poseidon's Elemental. Triton is Elemental. Isis and Pontos also have AoE silence, but they are both L&D Nat 5s. And there's one more, I think. Nephthys, which, again, if you have her, go for Gemini. But Bering is the only L&D Nat 4 with an AoE silence. And how often you're going to come across a monster that has a built-in silence is very... AoE silence is very little. Bering also has a Darkness Accuracy Leader skill, which is awesome for another reason I'll get into later. And he has his skill 3, which is attacks all enemies with a bomb, blocks all magical powers, and removes a beneficial effect. So basically, silence, AoE silence. Now, the part about Bering that is bad is silence on monsters that counterattack when their skills are on cooldown. Like Rakan, Fire Chimera, and Faye, Dark, Kung Fu Girl, almost all the Kung Fu Girls actually. If they attack when their skill is on cooldown, silence will make them counterattack when their skill is on cooldown. Which I think is kind of broken. I think Com2Us might need to fix that, because silence should not add any buff to the enemy. Alright, moving on. His skill 2 is multi-firecracker. It's like some of the other Cobalt bombers, but it has a built-in skill cooldown remover. It resets itself when continuous damage is inflicted on enemies. It basically, if you inflict 3 continuous damages, whenever it's unskilled, if you inflict 3 continuous damages, you basically reset the skill. So Bering is amazing for TOA on Despair, because you're inflicting dots, you're resetting an AoE skill, and, you know, that's great for TOA and TOA hard, because, you know, you need as much crowd control as you can get. Also, in TOA hard, his skill 3 works as a pseudo-provoke, because all it allows the enemy to do is skill 1, and that's all you want anyway out of provoke. So, you know, you can silence TOA monsters, which is awesome. Alright, so that's it for their individual skills. Now I'll break down why I chose Bering instead of Gemini. So I chose Bering because Bering is useful in TOA hard, as I just mentioned. He is a good stripper for immunity, and he can also incapacitate enemies if he's used as a turn 1 stripper. Now, it's a little bit harder to get him to be a turn 1 stripper, considering he has 99 speed. And I don't quite have the runes to make him a turn 1 stripper yet, but he is very useful, and being that his accuracy has to be so high to be a stripper, you might as well be using that skill 2 over and over and over until skill 3 is on cooldown. And his skill 1 also has a crow-like effect, I guess, where the damage on it increases based on the amount of harmful effects on the enemy. So I chose Bering for those reasons, and I might build him with a little bit more damage later, but for now, I'm going to use him like this because he kind of needs some health and whatnot, which he doesn't have. But right now, I just threw some leftover runes on him, but we're going to get the farming runes for him, and he's going to be good for TOA Harg once I put him on Despair, and he's going to be good for um, Arena, but not RTA yet. So, another good reason you would choose Bering for Despair is if you have Mantura and Basalt, two well-known TOA hard monsters. You can use his leader skill, which gives them 50% accuracy, and you can work on buffing their defense and health stats so that they can take a hit, which is important for Basalt because he provokes on skill 1, and important for Mantura. I don't really have an explanation as to why. But you really want them to land their buffs, or their debuffs. So that is Bering why I chose him. Now, why I chose him over Gemini personally is because I have a Gemini on my other account and I've never used him. And I have speed leader skills for RTA, so I'm not particularly worried about the speed leader skill, which I don't have a 33% speed leader skill yet, but I do have 19% and 24%, and I use them very frequently. So that's my reason why I chose Gemini. I'm sorry, I chose Bering over Gemini. But I was just excited about an AoE silence, and so far he's lived up to my expectations. He's been great, and if you haven't chosen, I would recommend choosing Bering, especially for beginners. I would choose Bering over Gemini because you're not going to be getting into RTA or Arena yet. So choose Bering for TOA hard, some Arena, and RTA eventually. So that's my take on the anniversary HOH. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I have one more surprise. You guys may have seen him already. I pulled Fire Art Master, which is just awesome. That's kind of... I pulled him before I chose... the HOH, so that's a little bit of the reason why I chose Bering instead, because his skill 3 is an AoE strip plus attack buff, and it also strips all beneficial effects. So I'm gonna make Bering into turn 1, and I'm gonna make Fire Art Master. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I guess Jogan. I'm going to make him a very late stripper so that he can strip all the buffs that get put on by Klo, Wusa, Velajul, etc. And his scroll trap is pretty good too. So anyway, that's all I have for this video. In the next video you will be seeing a little bit of Light Martial Cat. I have her built, as you can see right here, and it's going to be great because she has a good bit of tricks up her sleeve from my RTA video. I have some really great clips to show you guys, and that's probably going to be my next video. So you'll be seeing some RTA clips and some good stuff like that. And anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the better sound quality of this. I'm sorry the autofocus on this camera is so wonky. It's just, I'm in a low light room, and I apologize for that, but since the picture is going to be so small, it shouldn't be a huge deal. But anyway, I'll try to get that fixed. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I wanted to again thank Grace for her awesome work on my channel art and on my profile picture. They look awesome. You guys should go check them out immediately. And I want to wish Bill a happy birthday because today is his birthday, and yeah, so happy birthday, Bill. Thank you, Grace. I'm so excited for all my new channel art. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers like I keep saying, but anyway, if you guys know Anybody who would like my videos, anything like that, let them know. Show them. And anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hope you guys enjoyed it.